If you want to be the first on board, the next UFC hype train, this podcast is for you. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your main event. Live from HBF Stadium Festival Hall. Melbourne Pavilion. Not even backstage, we're literally outside. Was that the best fight card in Australian MMA history? Call me crazy, but make sure you call me when I'm right.
Be good at the Aussie MMA Instagram page and give us a bit of glow up because we're killing it.
Welcome to the Australian MMA podcast. Today's guests, Demolition Fight Series 15, Josh Warner and, of course, Wayne Carl. I've had Wayne on before. Both these boys helped put together an amazing Demolition Fight Series, which is, and I say it as the utmost compliment, and I will continue to, the college basketball of Australian MMA. It's a majority amateur show or very early into your professional career, and they do titles, they run it like it is, you know, one of the best run shows in Australian MMA. And a lot of the guys that are on there, you can often see if they have great records, they end up being title holders, they end up going pro on Demolition Fight Series. You can almost bet your bottom dollar that they're going to be superstars on the professional level in Australia. Now, that guys like John O'Mikalev, who ended up being, you know, the Hex welterweight champion, Harry Webb, who, of course, one of the biggest superstars we've currently got in regional mixed martial arts. The amount of talent that Demolition Fight Series puts on display is incredible, and you get to see them at such an early age and such an early stage, and you can see just kind of the ones that might be big deals. Like, I don't claim to know everything, especially in amateur MMA, but I had been hearing the name Jet Fisher thrown around, Michael Alsop. There's a few names that kind of just ring a bell where I go, I remember that name. And often if you watch a Demolition Fight Series, you'll know that, oh, okay, if I watch this guy in a couple of years, I keep a tab on him and all of a sudden he's an absolute superstar. So Demolition Fight Series 15 is taking place August 31st in Sunshine in Victoria. They've still got tickets available if you message Demolition Fight Series on Facebook, or you can see it on Triller TV. Do get it. It's an amazing broadcast. It's just, I'm a big fan of Demolition Fight Series and, of course, amateur MMA. So without further ado, let's kind of touch base with PRP Global, our partners and friends. And on the other side, we're going to chat to Josh Warner, the matchmaker, and Wayne Carl, the owner of Demolition Fight Series. Enjoy. Fuel the fight with Australian-made MMA-inspired streetwear and support the next generation of MMA superstars. Delivering unprecedented support to the Aussie MMA scene, support PRP Global on their journey. 100% of profits go to the fighters. Check PRP Global out today. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show with a big show coming up on the weekend. Wayne, Carl, Josh from Demolition. Welcome, boys.
Thanks for having us, Mitch.
Good day, mate.
I mean, first off, before we get into fighting, Mr. Wayne Carl, what's more stressful, a fight week or watching Carlton nearly miss out on finals?
Can I be honest?
Yeah.
Fight week is far more stressful than watching the Carlton Football Club disappoint us for the 20th straight year.
Now, Josh, I'll start with you. It's a huge card coming up on the weekend. Now, Wayne doesn't like when I say the college basketball. I mean it as the utmost. I mean it as the world's biggest compliment, because the biggest stars, and Wayne, I think you even shared a photo recently of one of your cards, and it was full with professional champions, sort of future UFC talent. Josh, how do you best describe like a Demolition Fight Series?
Yeah, look, the college football scenario is not a bad one. I know Wayne's probably deaf staring me from the other screen right now, but being a college football fan, I actually get exactly what you're saying with that. And I do and have long felt that Demolition plays a couple of roles. It's certainly a breeding ground. And I say that from the perspective of we tend to get fighters who are starting their martial arts careers. They've got talent, they've got great teams. They need a platform to hone their skills, to, you know, build their reputations, to get well known. And there's no better platform in Australian martial arts from my perspective than Demolition Fight Series to do that. So I feel we provide a ground where our athletes get good matchups, they get good fair matchups, they get to test their skills, and they get to prepare themselves for either future progression into pro careers that we can also sort them out with at the initial stages. And in some cases, they learn that, at the same time, they've got to go back to the gym and do more work. And some learn that mixed martial arts isn't necessarily for them. So from my perspective, it's a ground to test your skills, to understand whether you want to make something out of this moving forward, and do it in front of a ruckus crowd that are always vocal. Do it, for a promotion that looks after their fighters, and, do it for a crew that live, breathe, eat, sleep mixed martial arts.
And Wayne, how proud are you of obviously some of the talent that you've helped give a platform to?
Very proud. Like, you look at Harry Webb, Jonathan Mikuloff, Sarah Collins, although she only fought once for us, she couldn't get a fight in Australia, we're able to help. So our why will, when one of them make the UFC, not that we'll ever claim them as ours, but that'll be something that I'm really proud of. And I'm already proud of everyone that steps into Demolition Fight Series. You don't need to go pro. We've got guys that have been 0-2 and only ever fought on Demolition, and they're still messaging me about the Carlton Football Club losing, but they feel a part of our family, and that's pretty much what Demolition Fight Series is. Everybody that's fought on Demolition is a part of our family, and anyone that has fought with us that's watching this, they would agree.
And Josh, I'll ask you this because, first time having you on the show. Me and Wayne have talked, for hours on air and off air in terms of amateur sort of belts. What's your thoughts on obviously amateurs, and they put a lot of stock in these title fights, and I feel like if any amateur title does matter, it matters in Demolition Fight Series. So kind of what's your thoughts on amateurs and having belts and not only just winning them but defending them?
Yeah, again, if we're talking preparing for future professional fights and whatever that career might carve out, then I think that the title actually adds a lot of value. I think reputationally, to fight for a title, to earn that shot, the fighter deserves to try and get some of that gold and do it in front of their friends and family. But at the same time, title fights bring a different aura. It brings a different preparation in some cases. It brings a different expectation in the crowd. Emotionally and mentally, it brings a lot of different elements as well. So having a chance to test that at an amateur level, I think is only beneficial for a fighter moving forward.
Wayne, I wouldn't be me if I didn't start stirring. Dylan Lahari is your pro fighter. He even asked, why isn't it for a pro title?
It's because it's only a debut, but here's a little bit of a fact. So even this is Demolition Fight Series 15. We've had a lot of great fighters on it, but Dylan Lahari will main event his third Demolition, which is ahead of anybody else that's ever fought on Demolition. So you look at Dylan, he's fought for us. This will be his third time, and this will be his third main event for us.
In terms of amateur titles, you've got a few on the line. What's the one that is probably like the most highly contested, sort of either the champion or the challenger is kind of one of the hottest prospects to watch? Like, what's the title fight that's really jumping out for you?
I'll let Joel go first. Oh, sorry, Josh. I forgot his name. There you go. Joel from somewhere else. I was dropping a hint there. Mitch doesn't want to talk about that.
Oh, look, for me, it's probably the Jet Fisher fight. Jet's the premier amateur in mixed martial arts for me right now, both from record and also from capability. And he's been very successful on Demolition Fight Series. That's some incredibly tough opponents. Kwame is one of the most unique fighters I've ever seen. The way that he uses range, his head movement, his striking is so unique. It's a puzzle that'll be interesting to see if Jet can solve. Now, by all accounts, given his background and the way he's been able to navigate opponents so far, I think their camp will be confident. But I reckon Simon and the guys out there at Absolute might be onto something here from their perspective. So for me, it's probably the last amateur fight for Jet. At the same time, Kwame is a handful, and this will be a really big test for him. So for me, that's the pinnacle amateur fight of the night. Not disrespecting the fact the other three are rock solid as well.
And hey, Mitch, yeah. I'm going to go all of them.
Oh,
all four. I'm not going to pick any of them like them. I'm just going to say all of them. But if I have to narrow it down to one, I'm really looking forward to Allsop versus Matt McDonald. That's 6-2 versus 6-2. Not often you have 8 amateur fights each, 6-2. They're going to scrap at bantamweight. That is going to be an absolute cracking fight.
Have you? I'll start with you, Wayne, as well, and Josh. You've seen a lot of this as well. But Wayne, are you seeing the amount that guys fight in the amateurs get more and more?
I think it's more got to do with the age. If you look at Jet Fisher, Jet turns 20 on weigh-in night, so he's still only 20 years old, and this will be, you know, he's had a lot of amateur fights, but when you look at his age, I think they're looking at it, you know, when he's 21 or later in the year or whenever it actually is. But if you have a look at the others coming through, like Michael Allsop, he's 6-2. This is probably his last amateur fight. Yeah, days gone by, I think everyone was looking for 6 amateur and then turn pro. But with so many different shows and 4 demolitions a year, you can quickly get to 10. And the more amateur fights you have, the better professional you're going to be.
Josh, I mean, who, in terms of sort of talent guys to watch, I mean, we talk about Jet Fisher and stuff. How good can Jet Fisher be, and how good can some of these other amateurs on the card be?
Yeah, look, Jet to start with, he can be very, very good. He's still growing into his body, and I've seen very few amateurs. Probably Harry Webb would be the closest that have the strength, that have the diversity, and have the discipline that someone's had at that age. So Jet certainly has the potential. His brother is still emerging, but again, incredible Muay Thai background. Stand-up is phenomenal. Hoshi out at Kings, he's got some killers out there as well. And Tyrone is actually fighting Cage on this card. Early on, only a couple of fights, but Tyrone's one that I've sort of got black book, if you will. I think he'll be very special as well into the future. And Resilience as well. We've got a massive middleweight fight on this card. Combat One versus Resilience for the first time, and that's a sleeper for me. They're bigger bodies, a bit more mature as well, and that weight class, they tend to evolve a little bit more quickly for me. So I could spin off 100 names that I think have got potential to make it onto the big international shows, but for this card specifically, I think if our audience had a look at the Tyrone Cage fight, have a look at the Jet fight for sure. Michael Allsop's got the boxing, and he's built that jiu-jitsu and wrestling pedigree more recently. So, look, he won't be far away from going pro as well. And at that weight class, he's a real handful too. And then the pros, like I said, Dylan pretty much retired when I rang Simon. He actually told me, no, he's retired. And he rang me back half an hour later and said, you'll have a pro fight. Phenomenal. Like the first round stoppages, people couldn't get out of the first 3 minutes with Dylan for most of his amateur career. Now you've got smaller gloves. His striking's very good as well. You bring elbows and knees into it. And, you know, Dylan's one that you look at and go, he's good everywhere. If he's committed and wants to keep fighting, he's another one that I could clearly see after a few fights potentially getting the call up as well.
And in terms of Dylan's professional debut, you've got him against, I believe, Isaac Dean, who was 4-4 as an amateur. Now, it's probably too much MMA math here, but if Dylan is, you know, such an amazing prospect, kind of why is he going up against a guy that was just 4-4?
You can do that, Josh. I'll circle back and help with this one.
Yeah, look, just 4-4 is probably a little bit tough on Isaac. I think Storm, one of the great credentials of Storm is that he prepares his guys to fight the best to get ready for pro. There's no bankers at Storm MMA. There's no easy fight. So he's had 8 fights. He's had 8 incredibly difficult fights. And to win 4 of those, to me, shows how good of a martial artist he is. So I think capability-wise, they're actually on very similar trajectories. I see Dylan having the better ground game. I see Isaac having the better stand-up. And if he keeps it up on his feet in 4-ounce gloves, he can put a bit of damage onto Dylan here. So records aside, similar amount of fights, similar pedigree of opponents that they've fought. And given that they've got advantages in each style, I think it's pretty evenly matched. Obviously pretty biased on that one, of course, given I put it together.
And I'll add, every fight on Demolition Fight Series, each fighter needs to have a path to victory. And we believe Isaac Dean, if it's standing, has a path to victory. So you go through every single one of our fight cards and there's no fight where you go, you know what, that guy has no opportunity to win this fight. And that's pretty much the beauty of DFS.
Well, I mean, anyone you've matched with Harry Webb, I feel like that's unfair because there's no path to victory with him.
I reckon I could take Harry. I'll hopefully watches this. And next time I see him, he can. Yeah, I reckon I match up all right with him. I'm a short, fat middleweight that'll just sit on him.
You better start cutting weight, pal.
Oh, I could bet my life he's not watching this. Wayne, when it comes to like you and Josh kind of going through fights and matching fights. I'll start with you, Wayne. Have you ever had to veto a fight, like going, no, we're not doing that, that there is no path for victory for X or O?
There's probably only been once where we pushed back. We eventually did the fight, but we're pretty much on the same page. So Josh took over at Demolition Fight Series 3, and there's probably only ever been once where I've written back, I don't like that fight. And we eventually did the fight, and we're not going to name it, but it was a shit fight, so I was right.
Yeah, it was a stinker. Yeah, it was a stinker.
And that's, I guess, Josh, kind of what I want to ask you as well. Do you guys just hang out at the kids' class? Like, how do you get all this emerging talent?
It's a lot about relationships for me. I've been in the business for a long time now, and feel that one of the strengths that I'm able to bring to this sort of matchmaking is I know all the gyms, I know the guys. I've got a relationship where they share, quite intimate details about their fighters. They give me insights, and look, I do get around a fair bit. I'm still a fan of the sport, even though my training days are well past me now. I love to get to the gyms, get to the few jits comps, get to a few of the novice fight cards, and it's scouting. If we go back to the college football scenario, it's scouting talent that's out there. And Wayne and I have chats about people that we'd love to put on now, but we know they're probably one or two shows away. And like you said, matchmaking's an art in one sense, but also I've put some fights together that I reckon are going to be the greatest of all time, and they've turned into wrestling stinkers. And I've put some on that you go, oh, they're pretty green, and they've gone haywire for 9 minutes and blown the building up. So it's a bit of give and take with that, but certainly a lot of intel, and I'm big on the research. So getting around and meeting the guys and understanding what their strengths are and trying to put good fights on for them.
Yeah, up until recently, I was at pretty much every fight show that I could get to. Obviously, as things start to get busier in my life with 16-year-old twin daughters, I can't get to as many, but I'm still a fan of the sport, and I get to as many events as I can.
And Josh, in terms of like putting pro fights on, is that something you look to sort of do? You're looking to do? Is it just when it happens, it happens?
Now, look, this is a good point of conversation for Wayne and I. I love putting pro fights on. I actually started matching pros over a decade ago. It's where I sort of refined my craft. And again, I'm a fan of the sport as much as I am a matchmaker. So I love to watch a good pro fight there. The Muay Thai background, as we've spoken about. So you get a good striking, small gloves, elbows and knees in play. It gets me excited. So look, Wayne and I generally try to put on at least a couple of pro fights per card. Obviously, coming down to the degree of amateurs that we got on, the availability of some pros, and making sure they make sense. We've had 3 pros, 2 pros, 1 pro, and no pros on different cards. But when we're putting on the whiteboard, 12 weeks out from the fight card, we've always got a couple of slots available if the right pro fight comes up.
Wayno, are you the one that's like, in terms of your relationship with Josh, what sort of is he the one that's like, let's go 15 fights, I got this guy, I got that guy, and you're like, no, hold up? Or are you the one that's like, let's go get like 10 pro fights? Like, how does the dynamic work between you two?
We catch up for breakfast before each show, and we pretty much map out. I'll give him a I want list, and he'll work out from that. I'll pretty much put together someone that I want pro, or a couple of pros, or priorities. We tend to not get those priorities, so he'll have his priorities. And look, our communication, we communicate most days. Apologies to Josh's wife and my wife, but it is all encompassing what we actually do. But our communication is, every 48 hours we touch base, see what's actually happening. But leading in to a card, Josh has got 4 to 5 weeks. I put a bit of pressure on him to make sure the card's matched 7 to 8 weeks out. That's pretty much how it works. But I do have a wants list and a needs list, and then we work off that.
And Josh, is there anything that you try to sneak past Wayne that you can't?
Oh, look, I love the heavy hitters still. I'd have a card full of heavyweights if Wayne would let me, but unfortunately, the availability of heavyweights at amateur level is pretty slim, and 9 times out of 10, the heavyweight fights don't necessarily turn out as well as I'd like them to. But look, I do try to get at middles, light heavies on every card I can. But they're the ones that will have a little bit more of a bone to pick out between Wayne and myself, unfortunately.
And Josh, could you? I mean, I think a lot of people would be interested in. Obviously, you guys sell tickets to the show. Do the amateurs ever get commission? Do they ever get paid? Like, what's the deal? And if they don't, kind of like why and kind of what the business is behind that?
Wayne?
Yep. So the gyms actually sell the tickets. So the gyms do get commissions. So they're well looked after, just like every other promotion. But we have 11 fantastic gyms that have looked after us. We've only got 38 tickets left, no standing, no tables, and that's real figures because I just looked at them. We're down to 38 tickets. So fantastic by most of the gyms. So pretty much everyone other than the interstate gym sold a bucket load of tickets, and we really appreciate it.
Yeah, Dylan Lahari said you go and do the ticket collect. So that's very old school of you.
Not old school. I think everyone still does that, mate.
Now, in terms of a fight night perspective as a punter, have you had any sort of I don't know, like success stories? I'll start with you, Josh. Has anyone ever come up and gone, man, that's like the first MMA show I've ever been to? I brought my grandma, I brought my mom, like, because it is a family run event. And I mean, I'll get to you, Wayne, eventually, but I mean, you've got your entire family like on the door. How much pride do you take, starting with you, Josh, in being probably one of the most welcoming MMA events?
Yeah, look, heaps, to be honest. My boys are getting a bit older now, and they're starting to come to the shows. My wife comes down, and a few of the boys from footy and that come down as well. And it is a family-orientated show. I've worked on some and been to somewhere. To be respectful, I wouldn't have taken my younger family in there to watch things, and that's just because of some of the stuff that happens at fight shows. But we often get a lot of feedback both on the night and then through social media about the way the cards run, about the environment that's there. We sparingly, if ever, have any problems in the crowd. It's genuinely a family event, and I love seeing families there. I love having my family there, and sort of looking at the next raft of potential mixed martial artists getting their first taste of what a fight show is like. So that's really encouraging, and a lot of the reason why I think Demolition runs so well, because people know they're going to come, get a good fight card, get a safe environment, and bring the kids along for sure.
Wayne, I don't think you have to add anything to that, do you?
Yeah, we get a heap of positives, but like every promoter, it's only the one or two negatives that I hold on to for 12 weeks and try to improve from it. Got told the music was too loud. That's probably the biggest negative I've ever had. It was a bit loud in there, and I sort of just went, well, if that's the biggest negative that we're going to get, that it's too loud in there, I reckon we're going okay. But every Demolition Fight Series, there's always babies in the crowd. People bring their 11, 12-year-old, and everyone's fairly comfortable. We've got 8 security guards. My wife's probably the one that you have to worry about. She's the best security guard you'll ever meet.
And it's in terms of this fight week, Wayne, has anything kind of caught you guys off guard that's been a bit of an issue?
We've had a pull-out last week. We've obviously gone from 14 bouts down to 13. Interestingly enough, we had someone have a broken hand. We replaced him, and the guy he was supposed to fight then pulled out ill. So we lost. So we had 2 pullouts, but it was the same fight. That is a first.
Josh, in terms of creating this card, was there any juggling, any difficulties you had?
Nah, this one was relatively straightforward, to be honest. I was actually overseas with the family when we were preparing the first couple of weeks, which was an interesting, 2 o'clock in the morning when the kids are asleep, trying to put some fights together Melbourne time. So that was fun. But look, it comes together really easy. Without sort of jinxing myself, as Wayne said, we sort of have it done and dusted in sort of 4 or 5 weeks. The amateurs come together really well. When you look at guys like Jet and Michael Allsop, they're somewhat hard to match because of their records and their perception in the industry. But we had willing people step up early, and the pro fight, came together nicely. I was trying to put a second pro fight on, and probably the hardest man to match in Australia right now. I just couldn't get that sorted, which is disappointing from my own perspective. But yeah, it came together really well, and it's held together well so far. So touch wood, we get through this week, and no injuries, no illness, no
yeah. Let's not jinx that, because it's Monday. Weigh-ins are Friday, so everyone just calm down, bubble wrap, and we'll get to fight night.
And Josh, you're such a good matchmaker, and you're highly regarded. Have you ever been poached?
Oh,
I poached you.
I got the odd call a while ago, but look, I think it's pretty well known in the industry that I like what I do with Wayne. It's more about relationships to me than anything else. So it's nice to sometimes get that reinforcement that people would be interested in my services. But no, I'm very happy at Demolition, and we'll be here for a long time to come, as long as Wayne wants me, of course. Or Lisa, better off. Wayne's just the middleman.
Yeah, I've got nothing, mate. It's as long as Lisa wants you, you stay.
Now, boys, even I'm in Bunbury, which is literally 2 hours south of Perth. So it's the other side of the country. And my gym has young up-and-comers going, can you get me on Demolition Fight Series? So that kind of proves just how much of, like, even as amateurs, like, you are the thing they're aiming for more than ever. So, and I feel like this is, and I'm not just doing it to sort of blow smoke up your ass, but if I was the best amateur in Australia, I'd rather fight on Demolition than fight on some of these other shows and kind of be an afterthought type thing. So I think what you guys are doing is incredible. And in terms of what you've always wanted Demolition Fight Series to be, and I'll start with you, Josh, is it there yet? Or if it's not, where are we going?
Oh, look, if it's not, it's very, very close. For me, it's always been that breeding ground, getting good amateurs, giving them that platform, giving pros their first and sometimes second chances to familiarise themselves with that new level of discipline. And I think we do that very well every time. So from my perspective, I said, if we're not, we're very bloody close to being there.
Where we need to be right now. So let's see what happens in the future. You ain't seen nothing yet is our catchphrase. So one day I might wake up and say, you know what? I want to be the biggest and I want to put on an all-pro show. Then I'd have to go and ask Lisa if I could do that. That's the first thing that would happen. But realistically, if you have a look at any promotion's 15th show, I think we're ahead of the curve at the moment on what we're actually doing. Would love to have more pro fights. Our business plan is 2 to 3 each show. That's very difficult to get that done with so many shows out there. And we understand that there is bigger opportunities for now. But we'll wait and see what happens with the future and what the future looks like for myself and Demolition, Lisa and Josh.
I kind of want to give you both an opportunity to, I'm just a regular person in the street. I don't even know if I like MMA. Why should I go to a Demolition Fight Series, Wayne?
Because if you love boxing, MMA is the next step. If you want to come and sit in the crowd, feel safe and watch local MMA up close, the worst seat in the house is the best seat at the UFC. So if you're undecided whether or not you love MMA, come to Demolition first. There you go. That wasn't even scripted.
That's good. That was really good.
Pretty good for me.
Josh, what do you got?
Yeah, look, similar to Wayne, you don't get bad fights at Demolition Fight Series. The crowd are into it. It's a very intimate venue, so it's noisy. The energy's there. The supporters come out. So if you're a fan of sport in general, just love the atmosphere, want to see, people that you'll probably see on TV or Foxtel in 5 or 10 years to come, then Demo is a place to get it started.
Awesome, boys. I love the amateur athletes. It really is. Like I've said, I love Australian MMA more than I like the UFC these days. So amateur MMA is that next level as well. And just like you support amateur fighters, I support amateur media. So I'm sure Southern Cross Combat will be there. So say hi.
Oh, wow. He went there. Wow. Wow. Well, when the boys from your gym fly over and you sponsor them to fight on Demolition, you're welcome to get a GA standing at the back.
I'll do that. Boys, you're the absolute best. I really appreciate you taking the time. Look, I'm not going to ask you for predictions, but one fight each. I know we did it at the start, but we've had some time to think about it. One fight each. What is that one fight you cannot miss? Start with you, Josh.
It's Tyrone and Cage for me. It's no shins amateur fight, and it will not go the distance.
I'm going to flip it because we haven't spoke about the welterweight title yet, and that's Bakira Wamley versus Archer Cooney. So really, really excited for that.
All right, I'll be waiting for it. I believe it's on Triller TV, and 38 tickets still remaining. So write Demolition a letter because they do it old school, and I'll send it out to you that way. Enjoy it, boys.
Message the Facebook page, and we'll help you out.
See you later, boys. Always
Thanks,
appreciate it.
Yeah, mate.